Hi, this is KW, the Blue Collar Worker, back with a new video. This video is actually going to be a piggyback of the video that I did earlier today about I'm buying my first rental property. So, congratulations if you're ready to buy your new property. But let's talk about some of the things to look for when you buy your rental property. The first thing you're going to do is probably go out, or you'll probably look for it yourself. You'll go out, you'll find a property you think you want to see, and then you'll make arrangements with either the real estate person that's responsible for selling the property, or if it's a private owner, you'll probably call that number and then you make arrangements to see the property. So, first thing you do is calm down. Don't get too excited. Don't look at your eyes get big. I'm finna be a landlord. Let's look at a couple of things first, because after all, this is a big investment. You know, you have to put money down on it. You have to pay closing costs, which can be, kind of expensive, probably about $3,000 to $4,000. And let me say this before we get started. I'm not some real estate guru. I'm not some expert. I'm not some consultant. It's just a blue collar worker giving you some of his experience so you'll know what to look for when you go out there. So you'll probably want to, when you go out to buy your rental property, you probably want to get an attorney. I mean, if you don't do anything else, get your attorney. Get a real estate attorney. And then they can give you all the legalities and look over your documents and make sure, all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. So that's the first thing. And then you want to get you a really good, of course, a real estate agent that can, walk you through the process. So let's put me in that situation. I'm going out to look at a rental property, right? Okay, so the first thing I would do when they give me the green light to come out to look at their property, the first thing I would do is look at the outside of the property. I want to make sure that it's got curb appeal. Even if it needs a little cosmetic on the outside of it, I still want to envision that it's got curb appeal, because that's very important, because people, for the most part, judge by how things look. So you want to make sure that, it's got curb appeal. You want to make sure that it's in a fairly decent area. Because no one wants to live in a bad neighborhood. And, my head goes off to people that have to live in a bad neighborhood, this video isn't about putting people down or saying, well, this is bad, this is good. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that from a landlord perspective, if you want to get a fairly decent dollar, the better the area, the more money you get, the more people will be inquiring. Having said that, there's always going to be somebody somewhere that's going to want to rent your rental property. It could be the garage. Somebody will come to you and ask you, how much are you charging to rent your garage so they can live in it? And this is no joke. I'm keeping it 100% right now. So you won't have a problem renting it out. That's not a problem. But one of the things that you want to check is you want to look at the outside of the property. Me personally, my opinion, I like brick. Brick to me is the way to go. I'm not a big fan of frame. Frame generally tend to be bigger, but with that bigness come a lot of problems. Wood rots, and that can be expensive. You can have termite problems, that can be expensive. Wood is, water and wood don't mix. So, and then it rots out, and unless you're a carpenter or a carpenter, then yeah, maybe. But my structure of choice, in my opinion, is brick. I want brick. That's the only thing I would buy is brick. That's the only thing I have ever bought from time to time was brick. I don't buy frame. Okay. So, first thing I want to make sure is, and I had to pick that out before I even wanted to see it, that it's a brick structure. The next thing I want to see before I even go on the inside, I want to take a look at the roof. Because the roof is a big ticket item. So you want to make sure that the roof is fairly decent. All you have to do really is just stand to the side, cross the street, look on an angle, and you can kind of get an idea of what the roof looks like. And if you have the money and you're not that experienced at knowing what to look for in a property, get you a reputable inspection company that could come out, do a checklist on all the things they see, from the roof to the basement to the furnace to the hot water tank to the garage and so on and so on. They can give you their opinion on what it's going to cost, how long it's going to last you, what's the trade-off in spending money to get the necessary repairs done to what you're spending. Now, when I bought my first rental property, I had a inspection guy come out. He told me everything that he felt I needed to know. But you know what? The owner was talking in my ear. I was excited about having my own rental property. That it just went by the wayside. I just went on and bought it anyway. And the place needed a lot of work. But that's for another video. So what I would do, knowing what I know now, I would look at the outside of the building. And then I would say, hey, does it have curb appeal? Number one, because people want curb appeal. They want some place that looks good. Okay. Secondly, I would look at the roof. If the roof look like it's fairly new, then that's good. Because a roof, depending on where you live, a roof can be expensive too. A roof can cost you probably, it depends. It depends on where you live. I don't know. You might live in California, and California is expensive. So, I don't know where you live, but on average, a roof is considered a big ticket item. So you want to make sure the roof is fairly decent. You don't want to get a property that you got to tear off the roof and put a new one on there, because you shouldn't build it up, which most contractors like to do. They'll just put roof on top of roof. So before you do that, you may want to check with the insurance company that you're going to be dealing with, because they may tell you, yeah, you could do that, but we won't insure it. So, you may want to check with the insurance company to make sure that they can do a add-on to the roof, opposed to doing what's called a tear-off, where they put new wood, new sheeting, and new roof. Very important. The next thing I would look at, and people miss this one all the time, is the windows. If you got bad windows, that's a problem within itself, because number one, they don't work right. And then if they falling apart, that's a problem. Then if they're letting in air and all kind of other stuff, that's a problem. So you probably want to get a property that's got fairly decent windows. Now, how do you know that? Well, you can look at the windows. You can look at a good window and then try them. This is your time. Try the windows. Let the windows up. Let them down. And then that'll give you an idea of what shape the windows are in. Because windows can be very expensive too. I remember I had this 3 flat. And I had this guy come out. And window people can be kind of scandalous too. They'll try to rip you off if you don't know what you're doing. This guy wanted to charge me $1,000 a window. I can believe it, $1,000 a window. But I didn't go with him. Always, if you gotta go that route, get at least 3 estimates. And that's with everything you do. Try to get at least 3 estimates. This way, you are, at least 1 or 2 people should be in the neighborhood you want them to be in far as with the price. And then one might be outrageous. And naturally, you don't go with the one that's outrageous. So, you would check the windows. And if the windows are decent, that's good. If the roof is good, that's good. If the curb appeal is good, that's excellent. You want to look at the sidewalks. That's another miss one. Look at the sidewalk. If the sidewalks is broken up, or if they lopsided and they pitch towards the house, that's not good, because that means that you can have water seeping into the basement. So you want to look at the sidewalks too. Take your time. Don't be in no hurry. Don't be excited. Look at them sidewalks to see how good the sidewalks are. A lot of people miss that one. They just walk right on the sidewalk because they just want to get in the house. Well, look at them sidewalks, because sidewalks can be kind of expensive too, depending on how many you need to replace. It might be all of them. The next thing you want to check is the entry doors. Now, a lot of people miss that one, because they just going on in, hey. But check the entry doors, because entry doors can be kind of expensive too, especially if you get like a storm door, a steel door, and you don't know how to install it. If you don't know how to install it, that could be about $2,000 or more, depending on who you're buying it from. So, check your entry doors, the front and the back, or the basement door too, if you got one. Check those doors. And if the doors are all rotted out, because I looked at properties like that, doors are all rotted out at the bottom and the frame is messed up, that can cost you some money. Okay? Now, the next thing you want to look at too, and I'm probably all over the place, so write this stuff down. It's just my opinion, but write it down. The next thing you want to check is the chimney. Now, people miss that one. The chimney. Because the chimney is very important too. You can look up at that, especially if it's brick. You want to make sure that the chimney isn't falling apart and it needs to be repaired or replaced. And that can easily cost you a couple of $1,000, maybe a little bit more, depending on where you live and who you got doing it. So your chimney is very important. You want to look at the outside of the structure. How good is it? Is it tuck pointed? It needs to be tuck pointed? Because tuck pointing can be kind of costly too. All these things cost money. So then you want to look at the tuck pointing and make sure the tuck pointing is good. Moving on. Or, now let's go here. I don't buy frame, but most people do. People can have a lot of stuff on the siding. I've seen that all the time. That wood could be rotted out, and all they do is put that pretty siding on it, and it goes away until that siding blows off, or you need to replace it, or what have you, and you don't realize, oh my goodness. Or you start having problems and you realize all they did was cover it up with that pretty siding. I don't buy frame for that very reason. Moving along. The next thing you want to do, look at the garage. See what shape the garage is in. See what condition the roof is in on the garage. Look at the door. Make sure the overhead door works. And look at, when you go inside the garage, look at the floor. Make sure the floor is not all beat up, the concrete floor. Because that can cost you some money. Look at the inside frame of the garage. If the wood is in real good condition, then yeah, you're good to go. So you want to look at all that, because that's important too. People, when I first bought my property, I didn't look at nothing. I was just in the moment of getting me a property. So, you want to look at those things. When you get back in the house, you want to look at the flooring. Because flooring can cost too. If it's wood floors, and if the wood floors are good, then yeah, you're good to go. If they just need to be sanded and refinished, then that's not a problem. You can probably do that yourself, but if you're not comfortable doing it, then you'll probably need a flooring company to come out to do it correctly for you. And and then it'll look good. The next thing you want to look at is the drywall. Do you have to do a lot of work on the drywall? Is it a lot of paneling? And I bought a house one time that had paneling. Woo, a lot of work. I couldn't afford to pay somebody to come in and take all the paneling off for me, and then put up new drywall and all that. So I did it myself. I had to scrape and chisel and sand and all kind of stuff. It was time consuming, but it saved me a lot of money that I was able to do it myself. The next thing you want to look at is your outlets and switches. Is everything painted over with paint? And a rule of thumb is, what I always did was, and you can get an electrician to do this. If you're not familiar with doing electrical, don't mess with it. Just hire an electrician. Switch out all the outlets and switches, put fresh cover plates. And then look at your walls. Are the walls all banged in and beat up? Do you need to replace the drywall, or can you just patch, sand, and paint and you're good to go? Again, if you're not familiar with how to do that, you probably have to hire a contractor. And interview them. Don't be too excited. Get 3 of them to come out, and then compare apples to oranges. Then after you do that, look and see what type of electrical panel you have. That's another big ticket item. You want to make sure that electrical panel is up to date. You don't want fuses where you screw the fuse in, screw it out. That means that your panel is probably old. You want to make sure it's got the right amperage, and with that, you'll probably need an electrician, licensed electrician to come out and tell you that. Then you want to look at the plumbing. You can go in the kitchen, turn the faucet on, let the water run. You want to see your water pressure. You want to make sure that the water is coming out strong. You want to look in the bathroom. Check all the bathrooms, the toilets, the sinks, everything. Anything that's dealing with water, check it. Here's another thing people miss. Is when you go in the basement and you see a sump pump down there, that means that you can possibly be flooding out when you get a heavy rain. Other than that, they wouldn't have no sump pump in there. So you see a sump pump, you may want to look at the walls if they didn't paint them to see if there are watermarks anywhere. So that would be a telltale sign that you have a water issue when it rains heavy. If you see a sump pump, and even if you don't see a sump pump, still check that. Check along the walls to see if you have stains along the walls that could tell you that you got a water issue. Okay, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but this stuff, everything I'm naming now, will cost you money. The cheapest thing is paint. Paint is the cheapest thing you can do. Everything else costs. So you wanna look at that. Look at all these things that I'm giving you. Don't go in blindfolded and say everything's gonna work out, because it can be very expensive, and you'll be spending a lot of time at your neighborhood hardware or a big box store like Menards, Home Depot, or whatever's in your area. You'll be a regular there for a little while, spending money you probably don't even have. And I'm not saying you don't have money. I'm speaking of myself now. So once you do that, you probably want to look in the attic just to see what's going on in the attic. Get your extension ladder or something. Look up in the attic if you can to see what is the structure like in the attic. And you want to look around in the basement to see if you see any droppings, like rat droppings, mice droppings. Also in the garage too. But in the garage, you'll probably have that anyway, because they're going to come in. You can control it, but, you can't, everybody got mice. If you see them a lot, that means that you got a mice or rat problem. But for the most part, I would check and see if I see any droppings in the house. And then you want to look for rotted wood, because that could be a termite problem, and that can cost you money. Or if the house isn't sitting right, that could be a structural issue, which means that that's a lot of money. So, all these things add up. So, somebody just throw some paint on the walls and do something with the floors, and then you go in there because it's so pretty, and then you realize all these things that now you got to do. It can be very costly, So I would just say, take your time and don't be in no hurry to get anything. Sorry about that. I had alert come through, so disregard that. Sorry if it came up on the screen. So when you're looking at your place that you want to buy, try to set aside money for your clothing, money for your attorney, and then set aside money because you're gonna need money coming out the gate. You're gonna need money to buy a lock or whatever you need to buy. You're gonna need money the minute they give you them keys. Now you finna start spending some money. So set aside whatever you think you need coming out the gate to spend some money. And then you gotta advertise, and you gotta do all those other things, or you gotta put your own stamp of approval on the place when you get in there. But if all those things that I named, if the plumbing, the roof, the sidewalks, the doors, the windows, and so on is good, then that's less money you got to spend. So, again, I don't mean to make this like a negative video, because it isn't. It's just telling you that you're going to be spending some money. So be prepared for that. If it's in great condition, you'll probably have to pay more for the property, but then you don't have to put the money in. You don't have to do all that work. So if you don't know what you're doing, just hire a professional to look at it. And don't do what I did. He told me everything I needed. I ignored him and still bought a bad property. But it was a lesson learned. So hopefully you don't have to do what I did. You can learn from my lesson. And that's the whole idea behind these videos, is learn from each other. So again, this is Carl, KW, the Blue Collar Worker. Please press like if you like my video, and please subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I got great videos out there. Just type in KW, the Blue Collar Worker, and watch some of my other videos. Thank you, and have a great day.